Welcome to Theater and Stream, a film podcast. I am Matt, that is Chuck, and this is episode 76. Folks, we said we'd be back, and we are back. To those of you that stuck with us, thank you for your continued patronage. For those of you that are new here, you're about to find out what we're all about. And since it's been a while, let me give you a quick rundown here of what we're all about here at Theater and Stream. I'll boil it down to 3 words. Independent film thought. That is, movie reviews and industry commentary that is not compromised by things like access journalism, towing some sort of political or company line, or worrying about you're saying the wrong thing because you're going to upset your benefactors. We don't collect a paycheck from this. We're not trying to sell you gambling websites or shaving sets. We're spending our own money to tell you if you should be doing the same thing. And so, as far as what could be on deck for our big return episode here, well, first we're going to play some catch up. We couldn't let this one go by without talking about it. We're going to be discussing one battle after another. And then we've got some smaller reviews, including the Bruce Springsteen biopic and a new show from the creator of Breaking Bad. And then on to the main event, the latest paranoid thriller from Yorgos Lanthimos vis-a-vis South Korea. It's Bugonia. But before we begin in earnest, Chuck, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Just really glad to be back with you, Matt, and everyone watching. And just a quick thank you to everyone who extended support and help at the experience that my family went through recently. But it's good to be here. It's good to have a reason to watch movies and TV again. There was a stretch there where I wasn't watching much at all, but there's some juicy morsels on the table here for us today. But before we get into that, I'm just going to kind of direct us towards a news item very briefly that I spoiled during our Mulligan take that, we weren't recording Matt's audio for. But are you aware, Matt, that a box office record that was set 25 years ago was finally broken?
I was not previously aware that this was a thing.
Yeah,
no.
But you did learn during the Mulligan that a guy named Mason Thames beat a record set by Jim Carrey. Or not beat it, like he matched it for having 3 number 1 box office films in one calendar year. In The Black Phone 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and for live action, and then some other fucking movie that we can't think of because it's irrelevant.
I looked it up when we were in between our takes, and it's the romantic comedy Regretting You. I don't know if I've ever heard of it. But, okay.
God, is it Forgetting You? There's this whole book talk movie adaptations.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's called Forgetting You. Yeah, I think so. And then there's Regretting You is the follow-up. So he's plugged into the right franchises, apparently.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly what this is because, there is really no such thing as leading men in Hollywood anymore as far as in terms of can this person be in this movie and guarantee that it makes a certain amount of money? That's just not really a thing anymore. Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt are kind of like the last vestiges of that, and even their star power is kind of waning a bit. But I had said before that this reminds me of, I want to say it was either 2004 or 2005, when just randomly out of nowhere, the actor Hugo Weaving was the most paid actor in Hollywood that year because he was in both the Lord of the Rings and the Matrix movies. Yeah. And so he was at one point, Hugo Weaving was making more than, any of those guys that I previously mentioned, like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Jim Carrey, just in that one year because of that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, because and then there's people like Samuel L. Jackson, I suppose, is probably making gobs of money that we don't. But then again, I don't know. He does do some weird shit every once in a while, but nothing was weirder, in my opinion, recently than the pushed ad I got a few months ago for Fortnite skins for one battle after another, which was the most bizarre, inexplicable, and out of left field. Cross promotion synergistic things I've ever seen in the art house space. But does one battle after another really fit into that niche to you? Like the what did you make of this movie? Because like I know you didn't like the previous Pynchon adaptation
No.
from Paul Thomas Anderson. I loved Inherent Vice, and this is on that same vibe, but it replaces like stoned vibes with like pure anxiety and I guess political themes. I guess they both are political, you know, movies ultimately, but this one it's so overt. It's down your throat.
Yes. Yeah, it's strange. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I I don't understand why this is getting such vociferous praise, like seemingly by the bucket load. I liked it. I liked the movie.
Yeah.
I liked the story of it. I thought it was a good story. People are like talking about this in terms of like best movie of the year. This is best. This is PTA's best movie. And as somebody who follows like awards buzz, you know, kind of at an arm's reach, this is like by far the Oscar frontrunner right now, like by far. And so I don't really understand all that, but you know, I'm not an idiot. Like I understand that when you make a halfway decent film and then you sort of couch it in what appears to be, you know, leftist leaning ideology, then, you know, of course, Hollywood critics and the film buff sort of community at large, they're going to love it because, you know, newsflash people, most of the people who make movies, most of the people who critique movies, they lean left. And so that's just the way it is. And so, but there's a bit of a bait and switch going on here, I think,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't think this is actually a very political movie. It's actually like surprisingly politically inert as far as what it's actually saying because it's using all these real issues you know, and this revolution as like set dressing for this story that's ultimately about just a father and daughter who are like reconnecting. And the politics of the movie are actually like incredibly shallow, I think. And characters in the film are never actually driven by their politics. It's all emotions. It's nothing but, you know, a generalized sense of "Viva la revolution," but there's nothing behind that. It's just them saying that over and over and over. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is all that political, honestly. And I think a lot of people are sort of being like, you know, fooled by it, honestly, or like reverse. They're getting the reverse trap card by it, where they're like, I should like this because of what it's saying, but what is it actually saying? Well, not all that much, I don't think. So yeah, but what about you?
Well, yeah, because it's less about the actual politics of the characters and more about
Yeah.
what is really motivating them. You know, like that's kind of what's getting lost in the sauce a little bit for people because they aren't realizing that it's like they are the subject. Like this is it's kind of about ideological possession to an extent. And then, you know, it's like how, you know, like the various human, you know, impulses that you have that you can't control just through belief and ideology will overcome you. Like you can't overcome your nature, I guess is kind of was what my takeaway was. But it's like you're you know, no matter like what you're like fooling yourself into like believing about like why you're doing something, it's a lot more simple than what you're telling yourself it is. I guess I'll, like that was what I took from it. And it's like and there was something to be gotten for, you know, whatever your belief might be. I think there was something to reflect on. But like you're pointing out, the people who are watching this are just clapping. They're not actually thinking about
Yeah.
what this movie is saying and what and how it applies to them. Because yeah, like as I was watching it, I kind of like Eddington, but like less overt than Eddington, which is why people hated Eddington. You know, like on like in a broad sense, like that was a hard movie for people to swallow. Like the medicine went down easier here, but it's like but it's having like a placebo effect instead of the prescribed and like, you know, known effect that the medication should have. It's like you have to know what the medicine actually does before it'll work on you. You know, and if you think it's doing something different, it's just not going to do what it's supposed to. in like some kind of like magical realist way. I don't know. Because overall fun, lots of fun. Leo is a lot of fun in this. I dug the just the I don't know, like it was just like I grabbed you by the collar and just dragging you the whole way. Like you don't breathe at all in this movie. There's just always something fucking happening. And and the ending, like that ending was so fucking interesting because like the whole Christmas adventurer aspect of this, where like there's this like white supremacy, like because this is something that's also lost on the people reviewing it. I'm sorry to just ramble here, but this is based on a book written in like the 80s that was talking about the 60s and 70s like revolutionist energy and how it died. And PTA slides that thing forward so the present in the film could be in the present day, unless I misunderstood, right? Because totally. So he tries to slide the issues, which is ultimately like why I have the point of view I have on this, because he's like you update things to quote unquote make them more relevant, for the people watching it, so they can like identify with it more. But if you like looking back, like I've never read the book. I've only I've read Inherent Vice. I've tried to read Gravity's Rainbow and failed. I'll admit that book is impossible. But like I would expect this is a little bit easier. But what he's going after with that is what kills America, what kills the revolutionist, like tendency, within America. And it's like every revolution is undone, just in small, subtle ways. But it's usually from somebody grappling with that conflict between what their mind and their unconscious mind want. I don't know. That's my weird ramble review of this movie. I don't know if it would actually articulate what is going on in it for people, but I think it's fairly straightforward.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's relatively straightforward, and it is literally just it's a movie about, like I had said at the beginning, sort of a father reconnecting with his daughter. There's some stuff in there about nature versus nurture. And it doesn't make for a half bad action movie either, because that's what was surprising about it. The scene with all the stuff with Del Toro helping DiCaprio out, where they're trying to coordinate like a way out of that city for them, and then also for all these illegal immigrants, and the car chase over like those rolling hills in the desert. It felt like a 70s car chase movie, like something like White Lightning or like a Burt Reynolds movie or something like that. And so
or like Vanishing Point.
And then I'll also call out Sean Penn, because he was just fantastic. I mean, this dude,
he stole the show.
He doesn't seem to get out of bed for anybody but PTA these days. He'll just show up in a PTA movie and then disappear for like 2 years. And
he was in Licorice Pizza. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And it was, and his character too. It just, the way he performed it reminded me of like I've heard a lot of people comparing his performance to things, but do you remember Vincent D'Onofrio's like alien character from Men in Black?
Yes.
Yeah. He reminded me of that, where he's like, he constantly, the way he talked and the way that he's like constantly straining, and it seems like he wants to burst out of his skin constantly. And it's just fantastic. And a 2.5 hour movie has never felt shorter to me. And so, just fantastic all around.
All around. Yeah. No, and that's exactly like, he internalized that whole like conflict so well. Like externalized the internalization of it. Cause like, especially in that scene where like, he like the sex scene where he's like being submissive to the revolutionary, like that took me by surprise. I was just like, what is going on here? What is happening? But yeah, like in the scene between him and his daughter, where like they're doing the test, the paternity test.
Yeah.
That was chilling. That freaked me
Yes.
out. That was good stuff.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and Del Toro was pretty awesome in this. But it's funny because like he just kind of plays the same role in every single one of these PTA pension movies. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For the most part, he's just like the kind of the
Oh,
schlubby, like, oh yeah, yeah, you got a naked baby
got a
back
naked
there.
baby back there. Gonna have to blur that out.
Yeah, he's great though. I mean, I loved all his little like mannerisms and the fact that he's like always has a can of beer
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just great. And he's always so cool too. Like he's the level-headed guy. He knows exactly what to do and when to do it. And yeah, that was great.
It's good stuff.
Mhm.
But like, is this going to be the movie of the year? I mean, I don't know. Like I'm not to spoil my like my review coming up at some point, but maybe there's another movie that's better. I don't know, but like when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, this was worth getting out to a theater for. It looked good. It's everything you'd hope for PTA, and I think what we're seeing for trending, career wise for him, like what's happening in the industry, what's happening politically. His is the movie of the moment. To my eye. So
Oh yeah.
I expect this to win, just because of all of those factors. But much like other, movies of this vein, I don't think the people cheering it on really understand what it's saying about them in terms of, like how shallow some of their beliefs are. Because, and again, I guess kind of that's what it gets down to. It's skewering, like the politically activated, but not the true believers who aren't willing to put life and limb on the line for their beliefs. That's kind of
That's a good way to put it.
yeah. Like you should feel ashamed if you're not doing exactly what these people are doing in this fictional film. But moving on to the next one here. I watched this on a whim just because as soon as I found out what was actually going on in it, I just had to. Because much like Severance, this is a situation where it's just like this motherfucking guy got to this idea before me and I am so angry. Because Pluribus, the latest from Vince Gilligan, starring Rhea Seehorn, she plays a romance novelist who does like those Court of Roses and Thorns type books, romanticy books, and she's on a book tour with her manager, who's also her like wife, her partner, and she's doing signings for her latest book, and she's just not happy with life. Like I'm assuming she's an alcoholic because she has like one of those breathalyzers to start her car, those ignition, those breathalyzer ignitions. So her wife drives her to the bar after they, come home from their book tour to Albuquerque, because we haven't left Albuquerque yet. It's a Vince Gilligan joint. You know what I mean? But what begins the series is actually a really condensed version of like a movie like Contact, where you just have some people at a satellite array, one guy waiting outside, another dude rolls up, and he's like, no fucking way. Yeah, way, dude, check it out. Look at it. We got a signal. And then just more people start showing up, and they figure out that what this signal is an RNA sequence. It's like it's genetic information of some kind. So what do we do? What did the scientists of America do with this discovery of an extraterrestrial signal from 400 light years away, Matt? They somehow synthesize this RNA sequence in a lab, and they put it in rats. And one of the workers is going to, they're going to euthanize the rats because it doesn't seem to have any effect on the rats. This like mold virus thing that they're growing, it doesn't do anything to them. but there's one that has suddenly died, and they've never seen that before. She picks it up, it comes alive, it bites her, and then she starts convulsing. Cut to, she's walking down a hallway, and there's a guy trying to get like food out of a vending machine. She walks up to him, kisses him, and then you cut to all these people just slowly start acting robotically in concert, and it's just so bizarre and surreal and inexplicable. And because what's going on and what has happened is that we have synthesized like a technology that creates psychic glue between any human being that's been exposed to this virus. And now suddenly you all have the same memories and the same mind. They are all one person in many bodies. You know, it's a Rick and Morty type premise. You know, like literally there was a whole episode about this like hive mind that, you know, Rick had an affair with, or, you know, but in this case, it's like, what if you're like one of 10 people on the planet who for some reason didn't turn with everybody else? And how do you coexist in this new reality? It is an amazing pilot. It's an amazing second episode. I have some nervousness about like where the fuck this can go, because their options are so limited. You know what I mean? You have a cast of like, right now they have a cast of like, you can have all the billions of humanity who survived this event because like a billion people died, by the way, in this whole thing, because planes crashed and shit like that, and, you know, doctors collapsed in the middle of, you know, operations. But, you know, they're making the world better. You know, like it's the greatest day in the history of humanity, you know, because they've been able to accomplish this, you know, like, but we don't have any answers for like why this happened. We don't know why this signal was sent yet. So it's like this could go so many different directions. It's such a cool concept, and it's just so great to see Gilligan, you know, like doing something this fresh and like and different, because he has such a command of, you know, his abilities. I didn't watch all of, you know, of Better Call Saul. I completely missed whatever the fuck Battle Creek was, but like this is, you know, clear evidence that the guy still got it, and he's got things we didn't know he had, because this is right up there with Severance as like probably the coolest thing on TV right now.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I recently resubbed to Apple because I wanted to watch Slow Horses' latest season, and so I have it right now. And this was the next thing I was going to click on.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
I you know, you always forget that, you know, Vince Gilligan has been doing Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad for so long. You always forget that this guy started out as like the X-Files guy and the lone gunman guy, and so, you know, he has it in him to come up with these concepts. And so definitely looking forward to it. They did a really good job too of keeping this show under wraps and keeping the trailers very
vague.
Very vague. And so I was glad to see that, because I don't think it might have killed some of the hype for the show. I don't know how many people have been watching this, but it still is. It's an impressive thing to do nowadays.
Because like the original teaser trailer for this was just a woman licking donuts, if you'll recall.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, and at the time you're just like, what the fuck? It makes complete sense in context. It's like it's very clear what's going on before anyone like a word of exposition comes out explaining what's going on. But it's like that's why I just like spoiled it and just put it out there. Because you might as like from the jump, you know what's going on, like, and that's why. And what is the show really about? It's about Carol and how she deals with this. Like it reminds me a lot of like Why the Last Man. It has that same energy, like of a really awesome creator-owned comic book from like Image or Vertigo, and that's why I dig it so much.
Yeah, looks awesome.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. But yeah, check that out. You're up next here with a quick hit about Springsteen.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. I had no intention actually of seeing this movie, really. Don't really know anything about
Not a
Springsteen
snake.
other than his hit songs. I only really saw this because I have a personal connection to the movie.
Oh yeah,
And so, yeah, it's one of those movies that pops up every now and then that my brother-in-law worked on
that's
as a
right.
choreographer. So, yeah, he did all
Wow,
of Jeremy Allen White's choreography in the movie. So,
the dude's got the
but yeah,
the coolest job ever.
it is, yeah, it's pretty cool. He sends us pictures. When he was working on this, he sent us a picture of Jeremy Allen White, like just in the studio, like doing his thing, and it's like, yeah, there's a reason why that guy was like nominated for, like what was it, People's Hottest Man of the Year or whatever. And so,
Yeah,
but yeah, I guess what I'll say, having seen it now, is I was mildly surprised in that this is mostly a by the numbers biopic, music biopic, but it has a couple of quirks that make it a little more interesting where, instead of trying to cover this guy's whole life, it just covers 2 years. That's it. You only get 2 years.
yeah.
It's 1981 and 1982 when, if people don't know, Springsteen was working on his album Nebraska, which is his sort of big art album. This is Springsteen's like critically acclaimed album. He basically got super depressed, stayed by himself in a house in New Jersey's Pine Barrens, and watched Terrence Malick's Badlands over and over and over. And like that's like what he did for like months, and then he wrote this album. And so it's kind of interesting in that fact because you're only getting this small snippet and it's very focused. It's only a 2 hour movie, very focused on just this 2 year time span. And the movie also never creates a bad guy, which I find really refreshing for stuff like this, where in these music biopics, there's always the wife who's like, saying to the person, you're never gonna amount to nothing. Like you're a scumbag, or like you're a low
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
And or there's like the evil record executive that wants to squeeze out another hit out of the guy, and
yeah,
there's no bad guy in this movie. And the bad guy in the movie is literally depression because he he gets in such a funk with like the current state of his life. And he literally like the penultimate scene of this movie is him finally going to the doctor and being like, I think I have a problem. And like that's like the big, him defeating the bad guy basically of this movie. And so yeah, it's got these little quirks to it that make it a little more interesting than, something like Elvis or Walk the Line, stuff like that. And yeah, was mildly pleasantly surprised by it.
right on, right on. Yeah, because like I don't know, I'm kind of tired of these kinds of movies, so it's nice to hear that it's more focused. I guess the Bob Dylan movie. This is kind of they did something similar, but it did that whole thing where
Yeah.
like there was clearly a bad guy. With like the folk festival people.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I really don't know anything about Springsteen, and I have no
Me neither.
affinity for it. Like my only memory of Bruce Springsteen is the Super Bowl halftime show performance he gave, where he slid on his knees, crotch first, right into a camera, and I was just so like off. It was so off-putting to see this like 60-year-old man doing that. I was just like, why are we doing this right now, man? But all that said, probably worth a watch somewhere down the road for me. But it makes me want more than anything for Martin Scorsese to direct a like a fictional retelling, restaging of The Last Waltz. He just need that.
That would be awesome.
He needs to do that in honor of his buddy Robbie. But then he'll make it biased towards Robbie again, which which will be the problem. So maybe we need someone different. But there's just watch out, buddy. Yeah,
Well,
there's other
since you-
opportunities. I want this kind of thing to happen. Yeah,
Yeah. Since you brought him up, a little bit of a digression here, but I want to say here the since I did just recently resub to Apple, I've watched a couple episodes of that Scorsese documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent documentary series. Like if you get a chance to watch that, it's pretty fantastic. It's basically the last dance of about Martin Scorsese. Like that's what it is. And so,
Is it better than the HBO Spielberg documentary?
yes. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
It's fantastic.
That had no substance to it.
Yeah.
And speaking of things with very little substance, I discovered at long last this YouTube animated series called Space King from a channel called Flash Gits. They do like really edgy, extreme, like parody videos generally, and of course, Space King is a very clear but loving parody of Warhammer 40k and Space Marines and Grimdark in general, and it's like Galaxy Quest in that it's completely taken the piss out of everything, but in such a sincere and like loving way. Like they're not, there's no malice when they're cracking jokes at expense of Warhammer or its fans or like anything like that. It's just like, isn't this absurd? And isn't it awesome? Like that's the overriding thing that makes this thing work. It's like, it's rule of cool, but for comedy. And I don't want to use the term anti-woke, but just because it's so trite and you sound so stupid venturing into that space, but to acknowledge a culture war touchstone like female Space Marines and make an entire episode about it, in such an extreme way like they did with the most recent one, is just fucking the balls on these guys. Because it starts out with, and maybe you've seen the clip out there, but like all of these psycho warriors are doing their thing all over the galaxy, and they all get these alerts and they all rush back to their ships because there's a planet where a scientist has made a female psycho warrior, and all the ships come around it, and then a guy walks up with a microphone and says, "No girls allowed," and then they vaporize the planet. Because like that's because like that's a thing in Warhammer right now. Amazon controls the IP. They're inserting all these girls into our boys club. This is a problem. They don't care about the lore, man. And so in this, they just go full bore into it. Like a psycho warrior with like tits, like armored tits, walks out at one point, and a character just like destroys them. Just to illustrate the point. It's like, get this shit out of here. Like I've never seen something this high quality be this like so like based in terms of Warhammer fandom at the same time. And these guys run on Patreon and like merch drops. Like they are saying fuck you to Adult Swim, even though they're like made for it. Like
I mean, just like looking at you, this is only on YouTube.
Only on YouTube.
Wow, yeah, this is very like high quality animation for something like that. Like I would expect this to be, just looking at it, to be something that's on, like an Adult Swim or like a late night, I don't know, late night Comedy Central, something like that.
Yeah, it's you would expect it to be like on Hulu or FX or something along those lines. But yeah, no, it's just these dudes these young guys on YouTube who have a Patreon who sell No Girls Allowed lunchboxes and things like that. And they just have fun with it, because it's all ridiculous. It's all stupid. It's all absurd, but it's fun. And they think they can 6 to 8 months, they make like 20 to 30 minutes of content. And if it's as pure as this stuff is, I'll take it. I don't care that I get so little of it and it takes so long. They do amazing stuff. And yeah, I recommend it. But the theme that's been kind of running through this, ultimately, all these things we've been talking about, except for Bruce Springsteen, and even going back to like Alien Earth, the big question always is does humanity deserve to live? And in Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film, Bugonia, he kind of, puts, his feelings out there. And if you've watched any of this man's films, it's pretty obvious that he's a misanthrope. It's like, it's never been more like out there. Like that's the movie's whole point is this. But what I was, I guess, caught up in and enjoying was just how, committed it was to inhabiting the mindset of a brain broken, internet addled, person of the modern day. But much like, something like Utopia, a series that I love, it is simply is exploring what if that fucking nutter is right about everything. And, it has some very interesting, like naturalistic, like dialogue and performances. And, like there's some, great, comedy of menace going on. And it builds and it builds and it builds. And then everything just goes fucking gonzo at the end. I haven't seen the original Korean film, but I kind of want to, because from what I've heard, the differences make for very different experiences. Because this was so off-putting. It made me so uncomfortable. But at the same time, it had a lyrical sense of gore and violence and, horror. And what I was so caught up in was just how like normal it kind of felt. Like it felt so grounded despite, like the premise of it. This guy's under this firm belief that these aliens are running the world and he has found, the high ranking one, and he is going to save humanity. And he's kidnapped a billionaire to make it happen. And, whether the interplay and the back and forth on whether he's crazy and you're like, is this woman going to be able to escape? It's like, where should your sympathies really be? You kind of oscillate between the character, played by Jesse Plemons, and the one played by Stone. You kind of bounce back and forth. Did you pee? Do you need to go pee on the potty? Okay. Did you pee on the floor?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, I think he knocked over a can of something. That's what happened.
Okay. Yeah. That's better.
Sorry for this digression about my son's, because he doesn't have pants on at the moment. I'm being a great father. But God damn it, where was I? Totally derailed by the pee here. But more to the point, more to the point, this is a very strange movie. I don't recommend this to everybody. He makes a very callous choice at the end that was reminiscent of Don't Look Up. But while, Todd Phillips with Don't Look Up and his ending was all like, oh, isn't it just so sad? Shouldn't we all just want the world to be a better place? And this movie ends literally sticking you in the nose saying this world would be better off without us. And isn't that just a great message to send to the world? Doesn't that make you feel good?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about a lot of the stuff. I think this is probably my favorite of his since The Favorite. I was on record on this show, I believe, with saying both Poor Things was so mid. Ugh. And it was just like, in my opinion, compromised awards bait. And Kinds of Kindness was kind of a slog, a little bit too messy, a little bit too long, in my opinion. And it's funny that we're getting this year of directors who are just putting their real world anxieties up on the screen because, we've got Eddington, we've got One Battle After Another, we have A House of Dynamite, we have Mickey 17, and all these directors are just like, basically, here's what keeps me up at night. Basically, they're putting up on the screen. And, and basically, I don't know, in short, what is this movie about? I guess, in my opinion, it could be about a lot of things, but I think it is about people doing things that they think are helping their causes that actually hurt them. And I found it to be really effective, an effective vehicle for conveying that idea on multiple fronts. There's a lot to pick through about this movie. It's the rare remake that I think rings even truer now than the original did back in 2003, just because of the progression of society, where we have progressed as a society. And I do have problems with the ending that we will probably eventually get into, mostly because I don't know if I'll ever get satisfactory answers about the ending. I just have there's so many things I wonder about his intentions and whether or not he meant to do certain things or if they just happened
Hmm.
or what. But yeah, this is I would count this as a win. It's a return to form for him. I would say after the two kind of misses he had in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know, where do you want to go from here?
Well, gosh, I don't know because there's so many places, I guess, to go. I guess with it. Um, because I think your spit take is pretty right on, and you identified a lot of examples as far as that message goes. Everyone is trying to accomplish something you know seemingly insurmountable. He's Plemons is trying to keep his mom alive. The bees in theory are just trying to keep their hives going. The Andromedans are trying to save Earth after they fucked it up and killed the dinosaurs. And then we as a species, there's just so many different things in there where it's interesting how layered that became. And going back, I want to check it out again to see if there's more examples of that could be
Yeah, I
found.
mean, we are
Yeah.
just constantly throughout this movie, we are shown people, not even people, things, just things in general, that they are just trying to accomplish a goal, but they're constantly getting in their own way. Whether that's be because they're fooled into doing something they don't want to do because of greed, because of power, because of ignorance, and it's so interesting
You
that
want
he's
to
kind
go
of
for it?
keeps hammering this point home. You gave all the examples there, and then I'll even add to that, like the sheriff,
Yeah.
he feels bad about molesting Teddy, when he
Stabby
was a kid,
baby.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
God.
he attempts to go and make amends, and what happens to him is he gets murdered for it. And what happens when Dawn finally says something to Michelle, and he attempts to bargain with her to improve his situation, ends up killing himself. And so it's like people are constantly getting in their own way, and you can take that to that's the honed in like microscopic level, and then you can zoom out to like the big level, and we start talking about things like us as a species, about how we constantly get caught up in things like scoring points for our perceived sides, whether that be political sides or social economic sides, rather than actually thinking about actual solutions. And I mean, the funniest thing about us is, and I think one of the points that this movie's hammering home is that we love to complain about a problem, but then simultaneously like contribute to that problem, such as, it's everybody likes to complain about mega corporations and billionaires and, yada, yada, yada. But then they go and they say, it's too cheap not to shop at Amazon. It's too convenient not to keep my gas powered car. It's too, it's
Hmm.
easier to cook this Nestle brand TV dinner than not to do that, than to make something from scratch. And so we are constantly like contributing to the problem, even though we complain about it. And I think there are numerous times in this film where Teddy and Don, every time they are shown eating or drinking something, it's
Hmm.
always from a can, from a box, or from a jar. And so I don't think that was that's not coincidence, I don't think. And so, yeah, very,
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I love that, all that stuff. It's so You have to be on a script writing level, you have to be so honed in to get all that stuff down and for it to feel this organic.
Yeah, golly, and it's funny because you'd think that a guy as like aware as Teddy is would be a health freak and be like, oh no, we're only eating all organic, like stuff growing from our own garden. We're homesteading out here. It's like he was so dependent on the system he hated, and it was being slowly degraded by all the things that he claimed to be aware of and concerned about. Yeah, and like and there was something interesting that he brought up during one of the monologues he kind of has, where he's explaining how he had so like his ideological trajectory, how it went the full political compass until he just arrived at, oh, it's clearly aliens from Andromeda, and here I'm going to render their ship. It's like, how does he know that? How did he become aware of this stuff to begin with? And how did he begin proving it? As he was doing his investigations. I don't know, but because that 3D render of the spaceship that he did, I was just like, what the fuck? Why do that? It's like, how could he know that? I don't know. Like that
was it inferred, or maybe it was even explicitly stated, that his mom kind of like got him on like the path of this stuff? I believe.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I think I want to say I want to say that she was sort of like the thing that sort of kicked it off for him, which would make sense because I mean, at the end of the day, everything for Teddy goes back to his mom, as far as him not wanting her to die, or him not wanting to face that reality. And if she is the one who like brought that up to him, this idea of the aliens, or even not even the aliens, but maybe just made him into like a conspiratorial thinker, then of course he would sort of revert back into that when his mom is basically on life support.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
There's a lot of those questions in this, like I have so many questions about some of the stuff portrayed in this, like especially with his mom, like the weird like bathtub scene. Do you have any thoughts about that? Any theories where like he's like pulling those needles out of her and then she's like floating above the bathtub at the end of that? And
yeah, it's like she's floating away. And then like when he's talking to the CEO lady, she's like floating up in the sky and he's like holding on to like her like IV cord.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe it was because he was taking care of her and he was always having to change them. Like it was very symbolic and it was strange. But yeah, like and the things she was saying too, because I can't even remember what she was saying. It didn't make much sense, but I don't think it was supposed to. I guess
when she's in the bathtub, I mean, she doesn't have very many lines, but one of the lines she does have is something to the effect of like she says the word like cunt. She's like I'm just your big cunt mom, or something like that. And it's like, whoa, like what is she what is she saying there? And so I have no idea, but yeah, all that stuff, there's somebody will figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
I look forward to the YouTube think pieces about Bugonia.
Yeah.
Because some of the themes are pretty obvious. It's like why even call this Bugonia? Why not call it Save the Green Planet? Why not do that?
Well, I know that, and I did have to look this up afterwards because I never, even going into the movie, I didn't know what Bugonia referred to, and it refers to this sort of ancient belief that basically bees could spontaneously materialize from the body of a sacrificed cow. And this may connect to the idea of spontaneous generation, which was sort of the ancient accepted explanation for where mold and maggots came from before we
Oh,
understood, decomposition.
yeah.
And so, um, as far as how that factors into the movie, I mean, on the most surface level, of course, it's, bees. Bees, come from the body of a sacrificed cow, but any deeper than that, I guess I'm not too sure.
Who is the sacrificed cow?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good. Yeah, exactly. All the dead people, every
Yeah.
person on Earth is the
Yep.
sacrificed cow. Yeah,
The bees return.
and the bees
Yeah.
return. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
But and then there's like the stuff with. Do you have any thoughts about the interstitials and how they portrayed the Earth as being flat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to understand that because like like as you're before you get to the ending, it's just a cool little title card. That's all that you think it is. But then of
Yeah.
course as you progress and you kind of fall into the conspiracy talk, it's a flat Earth, a flat round Earth, and you're seeing like a cosmos move around it. Like from interstitial to interstitial, it almost looks like there's like a crack in some glass around it. Unless I'm seeing something there like else as that. But because I don't know, we kind of have to talk about the ending now a little bit.
Mhm.
Because it exists for Stone to like take like her staff and like poke a hole in the atmosphere, but
Yeah.
that's not like literally what she has done. It's like she's like
Yeah,
flipped
because there's still animals alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Earth isn't destroyed; it's humanity that is destroyed, and they come to this conclusion. Yeah, because like spoiler alert, I guess you find out that Teddy was right the whole time. Emma Stone is the empress of the Andromedans, and she gets teleported into the ship where they all like wear these like giant crocheted fat suits and have like long hair, and it's all very bizarre looking, and it's like it almost looks AI generated. It looks like one of those like YouTube channels that does like the archive in between. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before, but it's uncanny all the way through it. And they basically say, okay, we've tried, it didn't work. We basically just have to like give up on this little experiment and move on. We can't fix what we fucked up. But that when she's explaining like the history of humanity, the secret history of humanity, it fits into all of the like Joe Rogan sphere level, like pseudo historical, beliefs that people have, or like the desires that they want for that kind of thing to be true of Atlantis and ancient civilizations and technological civilizations existing previously in human history, and the chariots of the gods and all that. Like they're just checking every box for possible conspiracies. And it's like, yeah, what if they all were true? And it was because we were trying to make you people better and we can't fucking do it. So F you, we're done. See ya. Sayonara. That's the ending. And it's this montage set to this like really cheerful song showing all of the dead people around the world. And he doesn't hold back. He gets like a little too much delight in showing dead children and stuff like that. Like the shot in the mall where like the dinosaurs are moving in the shot, like that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just it's a horrific conclusion. Except this time it doesn't end with an Ariana Grande song. like,
Yeah.
like don't look up there. Hey, you
Yeah.
can talk, but you can't touch the mic. Do you have something to say, Luca? What's your favorite movie? Cindy Carr.
What was that?
He likes riding in his daycare lady's car.
Oh, okay. That's his favorite movie.
That's his favorite movie. Now he's gonna lick the top of my
Yeah.
head, or seal my headphones.
Well, no,
Luca, you're in trouble.
I as far as the ending goes, I don't know if I'm letting like stupid questions get in the way of my enjoyment because as far as the Dead Earth montage goes, I really can't square his intentions for it because on the face of it, of that sort of image of all of these the dead people doing various sort of mundane things, or they were doing various mundane things before they died. And it's sort of, yeah, this fatalistic idea of, like you had said at the beginning of the review, maybe Earth is better off without us. But I sort of wonder then, yeah, why show all these dead children? Why show specifically these dead children on piles of garbage in like third world countries? What is the takeaway meant to be there? And I almost think he's saying something to the effect of, and I don't know why he would say this, but of like, these children, everybody gets theirs, basically, where it's like the billionaires are just as much to be blamed as the children are in poverty, or at least the state of our planet is to be shared between the dead children in poverty and the rich guys and the corporations. And so yeah, I can't quite square what he's trying to say there. And it's worth noting that one of the big changes between this and Save the Green Planet is that in the Korean movie, the movie ends with, it doesn't have any of this stuff in it at all at the end. It ends with photographs of the main character's life when he was happier, basically. Just these still photographs. And yeah, I don't know. There's just something that I appreciate less and less in Lanthimos as his filmography gets bigger and he continues to sort of rely on cruelty to his characters. I don't know if it's just, I don't know if it's a side effect of me getting older or just not having the stomach for his worldview as much anymore, but there is an unnecessary cruelty to that final sequence that I don't think he really did the due diligence to pull off. And it sort of came across as like shock value. And actually, like, something out of another filmmaker's playbook, which leads me to sort of the Ari Aster factor of this movie, where
that's bizarre.
Ari Aster was once considered to direct this. He was on board to direct this, and he stayed on the film as a producer. And so I thought multiple times, even before I knew that fact, I didn't know that until the end credits came up, that like this feels more like an Ari Aster movie than a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. And the influences are just like apparent because again, this is Lanthimos sort of going full in on his like pointedly showing what he is worried about, pointedly like, this worries me about the current state of the world, where in his previous films he's always kind of kept everything at an arm's reach because he couches them in modern day fables. A lot of his old movies are like modern day fables. They're like modern day fairy tales. And there's a certain distance between his sort of worldview or his worries, his anxieties, and what he's putting on the screen. And yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of, this world is the closest to our own as far as his movies go too. And there are numerous ciphers to real people, to real organizations, to real companies and political movements. And so yeah, it's strange. This is a strange movie for him, I think. And not what I expected.
But at the same time, like what I found, I guess, reassuring and that made it more palatable in general was just how, like, it seems kind of incorrect to say that this, like, that he wasn't trying to be showy as much as he has been with like his last 3 movies or so. Because yeah, like in this one, it was a lot more like simple, like the very straightforward setups, just like lots of locked down stationary wide shots, just showing people doing things in a place. like their little farm and like all of its surroundings and the rooms kind of become like characters unto themselves after a while. It just like it has a very stage play vibe to it instead of this maximalist, like, I don't know, like I hated Poor Things mostly just because it was just so busy and it was just always like throwing something random at you that just bounced right off. Like nothing stuck from that movie. But in this one, I just felt like it was pinning me down as it was getting closer to the end, you know, as it went. Cause like I was all on board all the way through it, unless Stavros Halkias was on screen. That man was so clearly like the dude playing Don, I'm assuming was a less experienced actor than him. Did worlds better, was far more convincing. Halkias, it felt like he was just like reading lines in his friend's like graduate thesis from NYU. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't seem like he came prepared. And that's a problem when you're up, because when I saw him at like the Venice Film Festival up there with Emma Stone, I was like, what the fuck is going on? What is, I know
worlds are colliding.
I know he's Greek, but why is he here? Because like I earlier this year I watched Let's Start a Cult that he starred in, which is a throwback in the sense that it's like straight to video, you know, like indie garbage, but it wasn't very good, and he wasn't very good in it. And as soon as he popped up in here, I was like, oh yeah, this is why he's a podcaster. You know, like he should not be like. He's in the same movie as like real fucking actors, like Academy Award nominated and winning actors. And then he's just like showing up and like awkwardly waddling with his cop belt. And it's just like, oh man, like, why are you doing this, Stavi? Why? It just felt so weird. Like it instantly took me out. It took me so out of the movie. Like, even though like it should have been more impactful, you know, based on what was happening. But whenever he spoke a line, I was just like, is this like the only time you've done this, man? Is like, did you rehearse this?
Yeah, he was, definitely like a bit of stunt casting, I think, there. And
very strange.
Yeah. And, you know, since you brought him up, the actor who plays Don, his name's Aidan Delbus. He is an actor who does actually have autism, and he was actually like connected with Yorgos Lanthimos through like I don't know if it's a charity or just an organization in LA that basically connects actors with disabilities to movies, to like be in movies.
Yeah.
And so this was his first role, his very first on-screen role. And yeah, he was great. He was, you know, perfect. I mean, God, it was just like, I mean, there are so many scenes in this movie that are just like, uncomfortable and also heart-wrenching. And the scene where he kills himself is just like,
that was so sad.
Yeah, hard to watch. And yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff like that. And you kind of brought it up before, where your sort of allegiances to these characters are constantly waffling, where, you know, when you have Emma Stone getting electrocuted and you're sort of feeling sorry for her, but then, you know, in the next scene, she is kind of clearly taking advantage of Don and Teddy. And so your allegiances waffle back to, you know, Don and Teddy, and then they go back to Emma Stone. And so, yeah, it's very good at doing that sort of, you know, you feel empathy for almost everyone.
And on the note of the ending itself, because I know that like it's very divisive. A lot of people are saying it ruins the movie, you know, or it did ruin the movie for them. And then there's this part of me that thinks that that maybe they're right, because there is this like undercurrent to the whole presentation of this like billionaire executive lady who's out to change the world through her company, you know, who, you know, she's, you know, a technocrat apparently, and she's believed to be an alien. And it's like they're saying something there about the mega rich, the ultra rich, the supremely rich. the uber rich, who are they are not regular humans. It's not that they're more evolved, but they aren't us anymore. Like that. Like that's almost kind of the message. So, and if they had been more ambiguous about what was real, what was actually happening, they could have had a more deft conclusion that could have cut a little bit more instead of just like slitting your guts and spilling it out on the theater floor and then saying, "Have fun getting home, you loser," which is just effectively what he does instead. It just could have been like a little bit of a gotcha, but that left you thinking, but instead he just leaves you feeling terrible. Which I guess is maybe what his goal was. I don't know.
Very on brand.
Yeah, very on brand.
Do you have? I'm curious. Do you have any theories or thoughts about, how benevolent and well-meaning the aliens actually are? Where, we get sort of evidence to both things, where they say that they are trying to do their best, that they are trying to enact change and invent solutions, but then there are points in the movie where I was like, okay, are these aliens actually trying to change things, or are they just as flawed as humans? Like, are they to blame for a lot of our problems? How many CEOs and politicians and, military people are actually being, how many of these roles are actually being inhabited by these aliens? And are they to blame for, a lot of our troubles? Like there's basically a line in this movie where Emma Stone says, "I became more cruel and human over time."
Yeah.
And
that's just a lie she's telling herself, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that basically then that the aliens are full of shit?
Yeah. They are full of shit. And they could have just left us to our own devices and let us destroy ourselves. But they didn't actually view us as worthy of being able to have self-determination to begin with. They didn't think we were worthy of it or capable of it. Or they had revoked the privilege. We were on probation, effectively. And yeah, they couldn't guide us in the past. Know what is just occurring to me, literally right now? Bugonia and Prometheus and Alien Covenant all tell the same story.
Yeah, there is definitely some parallels there. Oh, definitely.
Oh my God. Yeah. They tell the same story.
Yes, I totally see that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to compare this movie to. I mean, there's so many. I don't know if Ridley Scott was operating on quite the level that Lanthimos is, but
I don't, who the fuck knows what he was doing, but yeah, but they have the same kind of situation where we are seeded by another race. They begin to have second thoughts about what they've done.
Yep.
Except in Bugonia, they finish the job.
Yep, exactly. What do you? So you had mentioned there's a lot of people out there who various reactions to the ending. Some see it as a masterstroke. Some people say it ruins the entire movie. Some people think that it renders the entire movie pointless because LOL, everybody died. The end. But one thing, and I want to get your thoughts on this. There are a lot of people who are very against this movie and how it ends because Teddy was correct the whole time. And do you find that there's anything dangerous about that fact as far as the potential message behind that? This crazy cuckoo guy who had this conspiracy theory that was very dangerous, that put multiple people's lives in peril. He just ended up being right the whole time. He was correct the whole time. And so do you think there's any sort of real world parallels or real world, there could be real world repercussions for that? I'm just curious on your thoughts.
I think that the people clutching pearls about that are the same ones who thought that Joker was going to lead to theater shootings.
Sure, yeah.
It's Oh, what happened? Oh, he dropped something.
Oh.
No,
Yeah, I mean it's
it's a. I think that's very silly because
sure.
this is a movie. This is fictional. Like, if every like wackadoo crazy person like wound up being right about what they believed, like reality can't be that multiple choice. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's like people are gonna do crazy shit because they want to do it. They don't like. No one's gonna go to Bugonia and then go, "Oh, I was right about what I believe. Like I should just believe myself." That's not what it's saying at all. It's like it is totally attacking Teddy's lifestyle and his worldview and his mission. You know, it's like he's so misguided. He's like we've been talking about. If his real priority, was what he claimed it was, he wouldn't be doing half the shit he did. He wouldn't have like become a serial killer, effectively, and so I I don't think so. Like the world is far more complicated of a thing than a movie being the only reason why something horrible is done by someone who's not thinking rationally. Like it's an interesting question though. I mean, like look we have a what was it, Bachman book. The Long Walk is a movie that was out recently. And another one of the Bachman books that King wrote was Rage. And that, like, I guess like that is like the touchstone example where it's like people would literally read that, like kids would, they'd read it and then they'd go shoot up a school. That there's at least like 4 instances where it's like directly tied to it. But then we're also drawing connections between serial killers and The Catcher in the Rye, if we're doing that. And then we're just banning everything. And I thought we didn't like banning art, people.
Yeah, no, I totally, I was just kind of playing.
I know.
Yeah, playing a little devil's advocate there because I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's people aren't Teddy being right about his theory is just a side effect of everything, where the point that you're supposed to get from him believing all the stuff he believes is that he's using it all as a coping mechanism.
Exactly.
He's using it all to justify his actions. He's using it as a way to justify, potentially killing this woman who, ruined his mom's life, or this company that ruined his mom's life. So yeah, it's all the fact that he's right about it is just a side effect of that. So yeah, totally agree with you. But
yeah, it's very incidental that he gets to be right about anything. Okay,
but yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say, but I think, I mean, we really liked it.
Yeah, for what it provided, it was very well worth it, and I'd sit through it again. That's definitely. For sure. Okay, now I'm hunting and hunting and I'm not finding it. So we'll just forget about it for now. But let's move on to the watch list. Not the watch list.
The Mentionables, right?
The Mentionables, yeah.
Yeah, so my mentionable this week is I don't know, I hesitate to call it a comic book, but what it is it is a very, very interesting thing. As I do every week, I went to my local comic book shop to pick up my books. And lo and behold, what came out of my pull list was not necessarily a comic book, but something else, a deck of cards. And this is called Ice Cream Man, the Mortal Coil Shuffle Card Set. And I've talked about Ice Cream Man before on this show. It's one of my favorite series out there. I think W. Maxwell Prince is one of the best comic writers working nowadays. And this kind of attests to it, because what this is, I'm going to hold it up here. This is a deck of cards that is actually a comic book. And so it is a 55 card deck, and you're meant to read it in order. You're not supposed to mix up, you're not just supposed to shuffle the cards. But yeah, it's like literally, let's see if I can hold it up here. It's like literally, it has like the words, like the comic book words are on each card. And so you basically you read one card and then you flip it, read the next card, read the next card, and some of them the way that the card aspect works into this is some of them are actually structured like magic cards where they have like the name,
Effects.
the
Yeah.
title, yeah, and
Yeah.
like this one here. This is so it's meant to be read, like a magic card,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of funny, but like all of W. Maxwell Prince's stuff that he writes, it is of course, very dark. It's funny that we're talking about Lanthimos this episode because if I had to compare W. Maxwell Prince's writing style to any director, it probably would be Yorgos Lanthimos because he has a very dark sense of humor. His stories are very, very dark. They almost resemble fables or fairy tales like a lot of Lanthimos's older movies. And so yeah, this was a fun thing to pick up at the comic book shop this week.
I forgot how fucking weird Ice Cream Man is, man. That's so
Yeah.
cool, though. That is
Yeah.
so neat. Like, it kind of reminds me of like those, like, something I came across online, but it was like a choose your own adventure style book. But what you're actually doing is playing like a first person fantasy RPG where it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
if you want to take a specific, you have like a whole array of actions that are always available to you no matter what page you're on, and then
Mhm.
depending on what page you're on you go to like it's way more complicated, but
Mhm.
it's but narrative, with
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
so how much did that set you back?
It was, I think, $10.
Wow,
And so,
that's gonna be worth
um,
money someday.
yeah. Well, the funny thing is it already, I mean, that's kind of the thing that sucks about reading Ice Cream Man is that it's one of those, one of those books that every once in a while has very high speculation on it, where, if people don't know, comic book speculators are people that basically watch like comic book trends and then they run into comic book shops and try to buy up all the stuff that they think is going to be worth money. And for some reason, this seems to happen every once in a while with certain issues of Ice Cream Man, and this was one of them. And I was so surprised that I even got my hands on this, that they even pulled this for me
No
because
kidding.
it's one of those things that's already, going for a pretty good amount on eBay.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, but what about you? You got
Yeah,
some video games, right?
dude. Yeah, because we didn't get to talk about it when it was topical, but yeah, Hades 2 1.0 dropped. That's been taking up a lot of my time. Even before our little hiatus sabbatical that we took. But that's a lot of fun. I've gotten it to the end game scenario. I haven't fully 100%ed the game yet. There is like one specific like story thing I have to do that is really hard to pull off because you can only activate it if you have a specific keepsake from one of the gods, and it's the one that resurrects you if you go below 0 health if you clear the room before 10 seconds. So, and you
Okay.
have to do
So
it.
it's tough.
So you have to do it 3 times in a row, like 3 rooms in a row in a specific, environment. And then I think I could beat the game, but I've given up on actually threading that needle because it's just too frustrating. So I moved on to other things, and one of those things was a FTL faster than light ripoff Warhammer reskin called Void War. It's basically set in a like a post Horus Heresy kind of a setting where like the God Emperor is dead and you're trying to get back to the throne world essentially, and you're working your way through like systems that have all been conquered by chaos, or the last bastions of defense for the version of the Imperium in this thing. And when I tell you it's FTL, it's literally FTL. Everything is the same. There is no new, like the only new system that they really added in, but it really isn't even new. You just get it by default. Because you can teleport to an FTL and have a ship squad that just are really good fighters, and you just board ships and kill people. And in Void War, that's like the only way that you can like win the game, is you need to have a crew that you can like launch over like in like a torpedo that wedge themselves into the side of the ship and then jump in, and then you kill everybody and get them back home before the ship explodes. It is so chaotic, and like it's fun, but the writing is nowhere near as good as FTL. But I'm surprised that they're able to do what they did, because I'm telling you, they took everything from FTL. And
they seem to be very successful with that formula, where I've seen a lot of these games where it's like, we're going to take a game that already exists and we're going to put a Warhammer skin on it.
Yes.
And it's going to sell bonkers. Because what did I see the other day? Warhammer Survivors, I think I saw.
Yeah.
Which is,
with Vampire
Survivors.
I'm going to buy that, because like I'm just kind of a whore for that shit, in that way. But because in keeping with that, I have always wanted to play the Warhammer 3, the Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign, which you could for a long time you could only do it if you owned the first 2 Total War Warhammers, had them installed, and I did, but I owned them on different platforms and different stores, because I had the first 2 games in Epic, and I had Warhammer 3 on the Microsoft store. So I couldn't do Immortal Empires, which is this epic campaign that spans effectively all 3 of the games. But I bit the bullet. I bought this like monster fucking package, and now I have all of the games on Steam, and I can do it. And it's pretty cool. And that game is still fun. Because I dabbled in it, but like I haven't finished my Immortal Empires campaign, but I'm like 6 hours in, because I just don't do very much. It's like I really take my time, I guess. So it's a fun game, but I'm still kind of learning how to play them. My brain doesn't quite work fast enough for an RTS, even though I think you can pause it, but still. Yeah, that's my mentionables, and this was, Bugonia, and a lot of other things. A very eclectic episode, lots of different, options. But what do we think we're going to be, doing in the future? Do we have anything like on the horizon?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we are. We are in full on in award season now. The new releases are coming just a mile a minute. I guess the week that we meet next, or that we presumably would meet next, our options are basically Wicked 2. Have you heard anything about Train Dreams? Maybe that's the one.
No.
Have you heard about Train Dreams?
Train
Dreams is it's a Western with Joel Edgerton in it, and it's been getting a lot of good buzz. So
that could be fun.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
That's
okay.
that might be the one. I think maybe that week, unless we wanted to pull from a previous week, because of course we do also have, in between now and when we next meet, The Running Man comes out.
That could be the one. I'm pretty hyped about that. That looks fun.
That looks awesome. Yeah. And of course, Edgar Wright can't really go wrong with him. If he doesn't make a good movie, he's at least going to make an interesting movie.
Exactly. Yeah. The man really hasn't let me down. At least not yet. So there's options. There's options that we could go back and review Frankenstein. Like we missed a lot in our time away. So I think we'll be playing catch up in a lot of different ways. Looking forward to it though. It is very good to be back. This was a lot of fun. Thank you as always, Matt, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Yep. See ya.